And we went around and they said they were going to stay out of the gun range of the coastal guns. But there were several ships in the harbors, and they flew around the ships, and we stayed out of the range of the ships. But those cameras could take pictures of the ships, and they said they could get all kinds of pictures of sharpness of those ships with the cameras that they had on that plane. Well, I wanted them to fly back over Ley and do that for me. They said, oh, we can't go down, so that hill's too sharp for a B-17 to get down in, and we'd be duck soup for them with their anti-craft guns at Ley. But we said we can go high over Ley. Now, if anybody comes up after us, we can fight them. We don't want to worry about that. And we can get down. But then he took me around the Huron Gulf where I wanted to go. We photographed all of that. And then going back to Port Moresby, we ran into a squadron of P-39s. They're the ones that shoot the 37 millimeter through the propeller shaft. Well, that was an interesting experience because I said, what are we doing? They said, well, it's SOP, Standard Operating Procedures of the Air Force, or the Air Corps, that whenever we run into an airplane, no matter who it is, we go into battle formation. So we didn't know who these planes were going to be here. So we pulled all the cameras in, they put the waist guns out, top turrets, bottom turrets come alive, the tail and the nose turrets, and we went into battle formation.
It could have been a decoy.
Oh, sure. So they said, and each one of those P-39s made a pass at us.
They did.
And that was, I never knew whether it was one of ours or theirs for the time being. You couldn't tell, it was moved so fast. But they were P-39s, and they flew on by us, and that was a very, then when they flared, I forgot to tell you, when we took off, they all cleared their guns. That sounds like the Earth's coming apart.
Well, where did they clear the guns?
When we first took off from, we got up to 10 or 20,000 feet. They'll take all the guns out and they clear them. They'll
shoot them for a while, just make certain it's working right.
See, they're working. So that,
you don't want to find out.
That was an interesting experience that day. And then I got a lot of information.
Did you get to fire some of them?
What?
Did you get to fire some of those guns?
No, I just watched them. I stood by them.
Okay.
I was an observer.
Okay.
Anyway, I got to walk all over the airplane, talk to the pilot, and talk to the co-pilot, and walk to the tail gunner. I could walk all over the airplane. There was no problem. B-17, now I've had them out here in Bluefield, and it's amazing how small they are now. I look at them. I thought they were pretty good size when I was crawl through them. But you're used to crawling in those days. You didn't mind crawling around.
That's true.
So I guess that's the difference. Anyway, I got on a boat at Oral Bay. That's right off of Dobadura. And we went up the coast of New Guinea. We could have gone a lot quicker, but the Japs ran their planes up and down the coast looking for boats all the time. So we had to spend the night in a little harbor, or the day in a little harbor. We traveled at night. And the Jap plane flew over us several times, but he didn't see us. We'd get in under the cove, so we dodged him. And I went up to a place called Cape Ward Hunt, which is right on the edge of the Huron Bay, probably 100 miles, maybe 75, 100 miles from Ley, maybe less than that. Maybe might have been 50 or 60 miles. I don't know exactly how far it is from Ley. But it's right across the Huron Gulf, and the New Guinea course goes in. And I got into Ley, and I asked them where I could stay, and they said, well, there's an infantry squad in here. Why don't you go stay with them? So I went over there, and the infantrymen, they said, you can stay in this tent with me, this fellow said. And I said, fine. You dig your slit trench on your side, and I'll dig mine. So I dug me a slit trench about 2 feet deep and 6 feet long. And they had a little cot, a cot you could put up. I had a cot. So I got up real early that morning. I was supposed to meet ANGAL group up in the hills of New Guinea. That's ANGNU, Australian New Guinea Administrative Unit.
Okay.
And they have an organization, and I had contacted them, and they said they would take me to some areas that I wanted to see for radar locations. So they told me a place to meet. It was very well identified. So I knew what I had to do. So the next morning I got up before daylight, and I went I was going up the hill, got to the top of the mountain, and all of a sudden all the sirens went off, and here came about 8 or 10 Jap bombers out of Ley, just where we'd been the day before, or 2 days before, and they came in to bomb. They knew we had a quartermaster depot here.
Oh, really?
We had a big quartermaster depot. Infantry was we had infantry squads through the area, and that's where this area supplied them. So they were going to bomb this area. And they bombed, they went right over my head leaving because they came up the mountain and turned off. I guess maybe I took a shot, but I couldn't hit them anyway.
Yeah.
But I went on back down to see what they'd done.
Yeah.
And you know that tent I stayed in, they had a 500-pounder hit it.
My goodness.
And that man that was in there with me, he was red all over. They said he had his blood vessels on his skin had burst from the concussion.
Yeah.
He had actually rolled in the slit trench,
Yeah.
but the concussion of the bomb, when it hit the middle of the tent,
Yeah.
had really seriously affected him. And he didn't remember me.
Really?
So I don't know whether he lived or not. They were going to take him back to the hospital.
Yeah. You did the right thing by getting out of there.
I was lucky to get up that morning. That was a very fortunate thing for me. Anyway, I got with Ann Gal again, and they took me over across the mountain to a beach area that looks right toward Leh, and it was a native village, and it was called Pubatari. So they took me in and got the chief and introduced me to him, and I told him I could stay there. And we had to use pig language, and I had to draw pictures in the sand because the communication was not real good. And he gave me a bamboo hut.
Oh, he did?
And I stayed in that bamboo hut. And the first night I couldn't sleep. It smelled terrible bad. The next night I just felt about the baby, so I slept fine. Anyway, I got with the man they assigned to me, this native. And he said, well, there were he knew where the Jap patrols were. The Japs had patrols in the area. We had patrols in the area. And I said, well, let's miss all of them. We don't want to run into any of these patrols.
No mistakes.
So we said, okay. So we went out and we got into a big dense jungle, and I wanted to see if I could put a station there. And I wanted to go up this tree. And I was mapping. I was doing mapping.
Yeah.
And he told me, don't go up that tree. And he pulled a little hand off, and he said, means he would eat your eye.
Really?
If you go up this tree, no hand on that tree.
Really?
So I went up the other tree like he told me to do.
Yeah.
I didn't have any trouble.
Yeah.
But I used to have trouble climbing those trees. I would take the skin off my legs,
Yeah.
and they would get very much infected.
Yeah, I guess
But
they
I
would,
carried
jungle.
sulfamilamide packs with me.
Yeah.
The medical people would give me a sulfamilamide pack to put on my legs.
So the sulfur powder you put on your
So
leg?
I would they don't use that today, but
Yeah.
they used that in those days.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
put these pads on my legs when I'd come down because I'd have them all cut up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that would keep them from getting infected.
Oh, that would work.
That worked very well. And water was another big problem we had.
Yeah, I guess you would have.
Well, I had two little pills. I get a canteen of water,
Yeah.
and I put one pill was a white pill. I believe that was a chlorinated pill. Then you put the blue pill. It was supposed to take a chlorine taste out. It didn't do it.
No, that never did work.
But anyway, that kept you from getting ill anyway from water. Water was your
Yeah.
big concern.
And you always did that.
I always did that. I very carefully.
Yeah.
I carried my compasses and my navigational equipment with me. I had to do my own navigating because I usually get lost up there without any trouble.
Yeah, I guess so.
So anyway, I went on up in the mountain, and I went around this hill, and the first thing I walked up into is looked a machine gun right in the face. And this fellow said, we started to shoot you because you had a helmet on we didn't recognize. The Americans had issued a new helmet.
Uh-huh.
All the old British were using the old World War I helmets.
Yeah, yeah.
And these were Australians.
Ah,
And I walked into one of their outposts,
yeah,
and I didn't know it was there.
yeah.
And they saw me coming, and they said, the only reason we didn't shoot you, you had khaki uniforms on. We didn't think the enemy wore khaki uniforms, and we were going to let you get closer before we shot you. Anyway, I spent that night there with them, and they had a cook there. Boy, he was out of this world. He was a native, and he could take papaya
Yeah.
and different jungle fruits,
Yeah.
put them together and make a salad. It was that tasted so good to me, I didn't know what to do. I hadn't had any good food like that for a long time.
Oh, really?
So anyway, I went back. I stayed at Pubatari for about a week.
Yeah,
And I went all up and down that coast because, I went halfway.
yeah.
Because the Japs pretty well were thick in that area. And I had to have my guide with me because I didn't know where they were, and he knew where they were.